Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. We are the Channel 135 podcast. I'm your host, Cams, and I'm here. The brothers in the house. I got Stace all the way from the Counter Rock podcast, the rugby podcast. What's up, bro?
Hey, mate, thanks for having me on again. It's been a while, so good to catch up with all the boys. Cheers.
No worries, man. Good to have you on,
Right on.
man. I know you're a big fan of TV shows, pop
Yep.
culture as well, so happy to have you on anytime. And the regular also straight out of Ranui, Eric. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's up, man? Back at it again.
Gonna have a busy night tonight, bro.
Fuck. Hold on.
Hope you're ready. Strap yourself in. Yeah, man, the Channel 135 podcast is brought to you by the WesWes Network. It's brought to you by WesWesNet.com. Go check out our like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, please. And if you want more of our content, WesWes Network, go to our Facebook, WesWes Network Facebook, and also our website that I mentioned before, WesWesNet.com. All right, boys, we are here to talk about The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode number 4. And we're going to break it down for you listeners right now. But before we get into the spoilers, before we get into our spoiler alerts, I want to ask you guys a question. Like, we're in Episode 4 now. I guess we can spoil it because Episode 4, a major character has passed on real early in the season. And I don't know about you guys. If you guys played the game, you probably already know, but I never played the game. But yeah, man, that was a big blow to the characters and the story. And I just want to know if you guys feel like it's going good now. If it's still going good, like, you know what I mean? So, start with you, Eric.
If it's still going good. Yeah, I think it is. I don't know if I've had enough time to mourn Joel yet. Because I don't... Yeah, I think probably in the next couple more episodes, maybe another 2, then I might have a different opinion. But at the moment, I'm liking it right now. Especially the last episode that's been played. Like, the sets on that episode were fucking on point. Like, I think I was talking to you about it earlier.
Mm.
So, yeah, no, I'm enjoying it right now. It's only been like an episode now, since Joel's passed, or 2. So, maybe more time, then, yeah, I might have a better idea whether I miss Joel or not. But, yeah, right now I'm not. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean there, because it's still been fast-paced.
Yeah.
The show is still
Yeah,
fast-paced and a lot of action happening, so you're right. You said you don't get enough time to mourn Joel, and you probably don't, because a lot of stuff's been happening since then. So, yeah.
So,
But
I think it might take some time.
Yeah. But I think also the dynamic has changed. But what are your thoughts on that, Stace?
Yeah, Tade, he was the central character throughout the show. But if you think about who he was, he was really someone who he would do everything he can to protect the people that he cared about. So that's why the death of his daughter in season 1, that had a really profound effect on him, and it made him really quite heartless and really hardened. So when he met Bella, that sort of changed for him again. So for him to keep Bella safe, Ellie, that's her name. Her to keep Ellie safe and out of trouble, get her away from the Fireflies and everything that were trying to kill her initially. I think he feels like he sort of served his purpose. He's got a second chance to save the daughter that he couldn't save in the first season. So I don't know, maybe it's a tough loss because he was the crucial point of the show. But since season 2 started, we're seeing the emergence of some really interesting characters. So without doing any spoilers, they talked about Isaac early on. We sort of got a glimpse of him, and the daughter of the doctor. She's quite an interesting character. So I'm sort of with Eric. It's still early days. You're still trying to get past that shock. I also didn't play the game, so I was quite taken aback. I was not expecting him to die at all. I thought he had, a bit of plot armor there, but
No.
Yeah, we'll see how it unfolds. But I'm more interested to see what these new characters bring to the show, more than anything else, as opposed to worrying about what can the show carry on without Joel at this point. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, like, I'm a victim of having a major character like Joel just die in the start of the season, and just me dumbfounded and thinking, who the hell's going to carry the show now? Like, oh my gosh, this guy was a big part of season 1. He was an anchor of the show, I reckon. He's a star. now, Pedro Pascal, like, and then I sort of should have known because when you see where he is and other stuff, like he's in the Fantastic Four and all, he's showing up on these other films and TV. You're like, oh, no wonder he's not there anymore.
He's too busy there to write him out of the shows. I can't not turning up to work at Last of Us. He's busy doing other things.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of worked out.
And then I was thinking, okay, this story is gonna be about Ellie, and man, she's got some big shoes to fill, man. That's how I felt, man. I felt that she was not quite like superstar, kind of like to carry anything, like be the main sort of hero of any kind of show. Yeah, I was, man, how's this gonna work? What's the dynamic going to be? Now, what we've seen now is sort of Joel has a replacement, right? And sort of like offers a different dynamic to the story. Like it's the same journey but with different characters, so, and different experiences. So now you get something that's not like season 1. So I guess that's what I appreciate. Something that's something different and something that maybe you got to try out and see what happens. Because what it does is it makes stakes even more higher. Because you got 2 experienced people now carrying the show, and it's like, what's going to happen? So I guess before the confidence that Joel bring with his character into the show, like you don't have that anymore. You don't have a guy that you can lean to save the day or know what to do in certain situations, and sort of like brings the show more. It's more intense now, I think, and I think you're seeing that, and especially with this episode, there, man, it's pretty intense. So yeah, I wasn't sold with the episode after Joel died. And I was like, man, what's going to happen now? Like, but this episode sort of pulled me back. Said, okay, this might be something. This is pretty good. There might be a thing now. And I hope that along the way, things will change. But what concerned me about Ellie is her character arc, right? I don't like where she's at right now. She's a bit like feel poco, she's bots in that, like doing some little kid stuff that you think, man, Joe was there, he'll like set her straight, but now she's on her own sort of thing. So, you got to get over that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's the big change for me. But it's fast paced. The show, the story is moving forward, and I think the action is getting in the way of my concerns with with whoever's carrying the show. But I think with the introduction of new characters in the show, a new threat or threats, now it's like getting a bit there's more layers to it now, so it's not just one storyline, it's other storylines as well. So yeah, I think that's cool. Sweet boys. So I guess we can't talk unless we spoil the show, the episode, so we'll get into some spoilers. So for all you guys out there who haven't seen episode 4 yet, I suggest stop this podcast and go watch, and then come back and listen to us break it down for you. Time to do the WesWes recap. Episode 4, Day 1, directed by Kate Herron, written by Craig Mazin. In 2018, Isaac Dixon kills his federal disaster response agency, Fedra Squad, and switches allegiance to the WLF. 11 years later, Isaac, now the WLF's leader, interrogates and later kills a Seraphite who refuses to share the group's location. Ellie and Dinah's first date in Seattle sees them stumble upon the remains of the conflicts between Fedra and WLF. They hide out in a music store where Ellie serenades Dinah. At night, they find several WLF soldiers brutally murdered by the Seraphites and evade an incoming WLF backup squad. The 2 escape WLF and are affected in the subway, but Ellie is bitten while saving Dinah. As they hide in an abandoned theater, a heartbroken Dinah prepares to shoot Ellie, who explains that she is immune. Dinah confesses to Ellie that she is pregnant, and they have sex. The next morning, they overhear the WLF, including Abby's friend Nora, are based at the Lake Hill Hospital, and Dinah tells Ellie that she still wants to go with her. And that was your WesWes Network recap. Alright, boys, let's get into first reactions. Your first initial reaction when the credits start rolling. Start with you, Stace.
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode overall. Like you mentioned, I think one of my main criticisms of season 1 was there wasn't much zombies in what is essentially a zombie show. So it's good to see a lot of infected scenes, like the hordes of zombies that we saw firstly in that massive battle in episode 2, and then also the great escape or whatever you want to call it in this episode. I enjoyed some of the flashbacks as well, and just sort of filling in some of the backstory, because if you sort of think the main battle, or it should be, between the living humans and the infected, but there's these warring factions and politics at play as well. And when you think of like the Walking Dead comparisons, it's not so much about the infection per se, but it's about what the infection reveals about humanity. So it removes the illusion and the veneer of civilization, and exposes the brutality of people. And we saw aspects of that in this episode. So when you look at how Fedra, and then later on with the wolves and the Joker-faced people, and how they treat each other when humanity is basically stripped to its bare essence, it's pretty ruthless. So I thought this episode did a good job of portraying what that's like.
I don't.
How about you, Eric?
Yeah, nah, fuck, it was a mean episode, eh? Yeah, some of the stuff that Stacey said was right on point. But the thing that got me the most with this episode were the sets. Like, I can't explain it anymore, man. Those sets were awesome, like taken out of the game or something. Especially with the scenes with them walking into the city and all the vegetation around the city and that. Fucking mean, man.
Did you play the game, huh?
Yeah, I played the first one, but not the second one.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I didn't get a chance to play the second one, but man, they look mean. And the action in that, and Jeffrey Wright, he's one of my favorite actors too. His performance in this episode was shit. So yeah, no, it was a pretty mean episode, eh? It looks like it might escalate to. Oh, I'm just saying it for the future episodes, but yeah, it looks like it's got to get better. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's interesting when these zombie stories, these zombie films or TV series, especially like The Walking Dead, deal with, like you said, there's the humanity aspect, like what happens to communities when they have to, fend for themselves and create their own little sort of satellite communities all over the place, and how does that get governed, right? So we've seen in previous episodes in Jackson, they sort of govern like a democracy, right? And then you see other communities, like season 1 when they head to, I think it was Georgia, and it was like sort of like a military society over there. So it's a similar thing with Seattle. So seems like you got two different factions trying to fight each other. One is there's a military one, like the WLF, and then the other one is sort of like a cult,
Yeah,
it's like a cult kind of thing. And I was thinking about them, because last episode when we meet the Seraphites, it was just a group of, it was like a group of them with kids as well, just walking along a trail. And then eventually we see their dead bodies and they get killed, right? So we think that they're like the minorities, they're like poor kind of people. But then when you see what they did with those WLF soldiers, hanging them up like Predator, there's something more to that group A. It's not just community trying to save their own or protect their own. They're like actually doing some, I don't know, some evil, some cult like evil shit, like, so not as all as what it seems. So we're now at a point where we don't know who's good or bad. Like who the WLF are and who the Seraphites are, so yeah. So another thing is that when Ellie and Dana, they come into Seattle, they're in over their heads because they don't know what they're doing. I mean, all they think is they're gonna kill a girl named Abby and maybe 6 of those other ones that were there, but not knowing that there's a whole army there, right? So they're in over their heads. So we'll see how that goes. But as I said, like all these different layers that are coming into the story now is interesting, and I think it was a good episode to have all these layers be revealed in a way. Also, sort of like dive into the relationship between Ellie and Dinah. So we get that scene with the the serenade scene in the record store. I thought that was a scene because I think it was Ellie that found the guitar that reminded her of Joel.
Yeah.
So I think that was like a reminder for her about Joel and the way she left that guitar behind. I think that's her like saying goodbye to those memories and moving on. So yeah, I thought it was a great episode. I thought it was the best episode so far in the series, and I'm excited to see what's going on, what's going to happen next, because I believe that we're going to see a good episode, better than this one, coming up too.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully.
Eric, you mentioned that scene. You were talking about going back in the past. So that first scene, that's 2018. We see Isaac, and he sort of changes allegiance.
Yeah, that was quite out of it. I wasn't expecting that. He just he meets what's supposed to be the enemy, and then he turns around, goes back to his colleagues, unhooks two grenades, right, and then chucks them in the back of the SWAT van and locks the door on them. It's like fuck, bro. 2 grenades, man. There's like what, 6 or 8 guys in that thing? Man, that kid that he took out was lucky. Lucky it was his first day.
Yeah, it looks like because he was Fedra, but it looks like somewhere along the way, he just becomes disillusioned with Fedra and what they stood for. Because you can see when those guys are talking, he's a little bit disgusted about the way that they're talking about the common people and how they've treated people. So, and it looks like on that other side, there's people who are, they're sick of being oppressed and being dehumanized. So that's where that uprising begins, and that's how he becomes part of the WLF. And you sort of think, I thought, he sort of might be a bit of a hero at the start of the episode. He's overthrowing the tyrannical Fedra, if that's what you want to call them, and overthrows the establishment. And he saves that wide-eyed Fedra newbie. And then later on, I don't know what happened in those next sort of 4 or 5 years after that, but he just turns into a pretty cold-hearted, ruthless, almost like a villain. And that wide-eyed recruit that he had is now brainwashed, and you're thinking, fuck, what happened to you, man, Isaac? Who done your duty? And you think like he was there to try to overthrow Fedra and stop them because they were doing all these bad things. And it looks like he sort of became a different version of Fedra himself in a lot of ways. So I'm interested to see how they fill in more of that backstory and what happened in those next couple of years, because he was he thought he was doing the right thing, and somewhere along the way it looks like he's lost his path a bit.
Yeah. Because I think at the same time, if you want to protect your society or protect your community, and you got threats outside, you got the ultimate threat, who are the zombies, and you might have another community out there trying to take all your resources and stuff. So I think you got to resort to those like bad stuff, like bad things, and I think with the community, the MLF community, it'll be interesting to see how you become one of them, if you can. How you get initiated into how do they deal with people that just stroll into Seattle looking for a mate or looking for some food or something? How do they deal with those people? Do they shoot them in sight? Or do they bring them in, or do they initiate them in some way to incorporate them in their new community? And obviously you gotta have a gun and join the military. But
it's kind of like a real army type thing to it, Their group. Unlike where Tommy's crew, they're more like more caring, more family orientated. But these wolves they look a bit nutty, like the scars.
Or maybe it's because of the scars or the Seraphites that have made them be like this,
Maybe. Could be.
Yeah. But that scene when you see him 18 years later and he's got the copper frying pan on the thing and he's making that speech, and I was thinking, okay, he's talking to someone, talking to his men or something like that. But then the camera just stayed on him and never showed who he's talking to. And then I think after a while, I was thinking, nah, it can't be. I think he's interrogating someone. And then there's a guy sitting down. There's a guy sitting down with no clothes on. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, full frontal.
Those
Like,
actors brave, man, sitting down full frontal, man.
far out.
I'm
Full
glad you
Monty and
picked it up.
everything.
I did, and I just thought, oh, the man, he's helped all the people to overthrow Fredra, and now he's cooking everyone breakfast. What a nice guy. And then they cut to that scene of that guy, and I'm like, oh, okay, hold on a second. Something's happened to this dude. He's changed, man.
Yeah, he's cooking this guy some breakfast, bro.
But you know that scene when they show him naked, I was thinking, oh yeah, that's right. This is like R18, this program. But man,
Yeah.
I was thinking, nah, but better not put that saucepan on his balls, man. That'd be like, ooh, fuck. I don't want to see that.
Well, we've gone to those lines, eh? We talked about that scene in House of the Dragon. We've gone to those extreme views on TV now.
Oh man, boil his balls on the frying pan.
It's HBO. You never know with those guys.
Fuck it.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, you're right. Like, how much has changed over 11 years? Like, I'm just wondering if he's still, because he has got compassion. He saved that dude, right? He was in the van or in the truck, and you know the boys were teasing the new guy. He sort of felt sorry for him and picked them to come outside.
Yeah.
Or do you think he picked them to come outside because he's new and he doesn't know any better?
Yeah.
Because if you had picked anyone else, like an experienced dude, they'll probably shoot at him or something like that. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Not easily influenced like the newbie.
Yeah.
He would have been easily influenced.
Because when we see him again, because he's the guard at the door, eh?
Yeah, that's
he's
right.
he's like 100% loyalty, eh? Like loyal, eh? Like
I got your back, Isaac.
Yeah. But in that scene, it was quite interesting to see Isaac when he's arguing with that Seraphite guy. So that Seraphite says, "Oh, you killed and murdered our kids," and then Isaac says, "Because you trained those kids to shoot us." And then that Joker dude says, "Oh, because you broke the truce." And then Isaac replies, "No, because you broke the truce." And then finally, he says, "I'm not going to keep going back and forth with you with this chicken and egg argument." But it just sort of demonstrates what happens when you get caught up in this never-ending cycle of vengeance. You know, they just, I'll get you back because you get this back. So if you sort of juxtapose that storyline against what's happening with Joel, so the Fireflies say, "Oh, we're going to kill Ellie for the cure," and then Joel goes, "Oh yeah, well that's my surrogate daughter, or whatever. So I'm going to kill all you Fireflies." And then that doctor's daughter grows up and says, "Oh yeah, well you killed that doctor. That was my dad. So I'm going to kill you, Joel." And then Ellie goes, "Well, Joel was my dad, so now I'm going to come to Seattle and kill you." And those characters, so they're similar to what Isaac's going through. They're stuck in their revenge stories. So that's been a real common theme this season, just that cycle of vengeance, which I talked about before. So I sort of liked how they incorporated that into that scene. I thought that was well done.
Yeah, the Seraphites are stubborn too, eh? They don't like they believe it. They 100% believe.
Well, when we meet that girl Abby that killed Joel, and she had like 6 of her mates there. To me, that didn't seem like the ruthless kind of army militia dudes. They sort of had some rationality. They remember the guy. He said, "You know what? We can't go to that town. It's convention to go back. Like stuff this plan. We should go back." But the others were like shocked when she was gonna kill Joel. Hey, so to me, it seemed like where they're from, maybe they're not used to violence. But then I was thinking, well, they took 5 years to get to the town. Maybe during that 5 years, things changed over in Seattle, eh, man?
Yeah,
Big
you know what I
time.
mean? They didn't feel like they were the ruthless type of to shoot first, like we see the WLF now. Yeah. But as far as I know, like from what I've seen, the WLF are just doing what they're doing to protect their own. They've got resources. They've got guns and tanks and all that kind of stuff. And the Seraphites, to me, man, psycho, man, just psychos. But then, you know, when I think about the different communities around, what happens to society when you got a threat like the zombie apocalypse? You know, you got all these little communities. How did they each got to have to govern themselves on their own? So it's a luck of the draw. How you when you bump into these communities, which way they're gonna go? Are they gonna be those cult ones? We have the leader, maybe the leader of the Seraphites, just drudge up some fucking bullshit like religion, you know, because no one knows any better. Because you got people that are born in the apocalypse, They don't know what it's like before 2003. So you can like indoctrinate them with anything, right? So
Yeah.
and they
Cut
talk
your
about
face.
this prophet. So whoever the prophet was, seems like that prophet is dead. The idea of the prophet is still strong in their sort of community and the Seraphites community, and they bow down to that. So whoever has that power, if you have the power of a story and you can control the society you create, I think that's what's happening there.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you think, well, it's quite hard to imagine, but you think if that happened in real life, like if there was sort of some massive apocalyptic event, first thing that happens is everyone panics, everyone goes into survival mode. So there's gonna be rioting and looting on the streets. There's gonna be anarchy and lawlessness. So out of that, you can see how something like Fedra would rise up. They would be wanting to instill law and order out of all of that and all the rest of it. Now they might take it too far, and then you can see how the WLF would rise up. That's sort of like a rising of the people against the oppression that Fedra ultimately became. And then there's these other types of people who will be like, oh, why is this happening? This is God's wrath, and we've been punished.
Spiritual.
Looking for a spiritual element. That's where those guys are, the Seraphites are sort of some religious zealot comes along and that's one of his sects. So, it's hard to imagine what would really happen, but I can envisage all of those groups coming into fruition in a real sort of a zombie apocalypse. So it's really well done. I've got to say, whoever thought about it really gave a lot of thought into what it would be like. So well done to the game creators.
Yeah, and you're right, because there's a big difference between this one and the Walking Dead. And the Walking Dead, we talked about this before, but the Walking Dead's been on for ages. Like I think it's past season 10. But this
I'm still watching it.
But this only is like 2 seasons. It's been a game, right? And I think it's doing more. There's more. If you thought that Walking Dead, like that's all the story there is, you need to know about the zombie. You don't need anything else because we've drowned you with so many zombie stuff from Walking Dead. Like what more? What can you change to make it even better? I think Last of Us has, But the community theme, the theme of community, is a big theme in these apocalypse. I guess all apocalypse films, How do humans deal with the threat? And I think with Last of Us, a person like Ellie, who might have the cure to the whole thing, she might be the answer to getting Earth back the way it was. I mean, that's the light at the end of that tunnel. So there's hope, right? There's hope for the audience that there could be an ending, as opposed to Walking Dead when there's no ending. It's like fuck,
just keep going. Zombies after zombies.
Yeah, man. But yeah, man. One of the things I was thinking about was the character of Ellie, and I mentioned before Joe's gone, so what's she gonna do now? So I'm waiting for her to be that take charge kind of action hero, like I mentioned before, like Sarah Connor on T2, like that on that level, like the badass, right? But right now she's like 19 years old, I think, on the show, and she's not there yet. But I'm waiting for that time, So we'll see what happens. Because your favorite scene, Eric?
It'll probably be in the subway. The subway and the interrogation in the kitchen. I think these were my couple of main scenes, and maybe the singing. She's playing the guitar, and how they whole set up with the hole in the wall and the grass and that, and the sunlight coming through. That was me. I liked it.
Bro, I was like, when she started singing the song, I was like, fucking cheese, man.
But I didn't like the song, but I just liked the setup. It was me.
But you know what? What saved it was the reaction on Dinah's face.
Yeah.
Because, that was a cool way when she was like, you can tell she's in love, she was being serenaded to. But the look on her face, like, it connected to what happened at the end. Because it's sort of, you needed to have that scene, the serenade scene, because it made the last scene intense when you thought Dinah was gonna protect herself by shooting Ellie. Because when Ellie got bit, she Dinah pulled out the gun, so Ellie had to try and convince her that she's immune. and proved to her by saying, "I'm gonna go to sleep. Wake up in the morning, still have the gun on me," and you'll see that I haven't turned.
Yeah, she was gonna do it too, eh? You could tell Dana was gonna do it as well.
Oh yeah, because
Like, if she
isn't that the
changed,
rule?
man.
Isn't that the rule?
Yeah, but I didn't think. I thought she loved her. So I was thinking, oh, maybe they'll change together.
Nah, but that's the rule, man.
Yeah, but yeah, she was definitely gonna shoot her.
Yeah, but I think the intensity of that scene would not work if they didn't do the serenade scene. I think.
Yeah, you're right about
I
that.
thought it was cheesy at the time, but when
Yeah.
we had that scene
At the end,
at the end, I was, oh yeah, it works out. So that attests to the great writing on the show. Eh?
yeah.
Like you need all that.
Did you notice the contraceptives in the subway?
Yeah.
That's fucked up, eh? Like, you know how they were getting harmed in the, I think it was the second episode when the town got raided, and the guy was hitting the pipes, and there's little plant things were wiggling
Yeah.
around when the guy was hitting it. It's kind of the same reaction I was doing in the subway, and the next minute a bunch of zombies start running over.
Yeah, they're
what
like
the-
they're like feelers, eh? They can.
yeah, they can tell them where to go. Because
Mm.
the guy was saying, "Oh, I thought these tunnels are meant to be clear," and then but the whole place was full of zombies. Ah, that's really busy. I wonder if
that's
they
not
could
the thing
use that.
That's not a thing that's. I think that's different to Walking Dead because the threat of the zombies is different because you got multiple threats, huh?
Yeah,
Because you got the plants,
different
the
types.
plants grow. Then you've got the zombies that evolve to different
Fucking
different
classes.
levels of zombie. Like I think they end up to be the big one, eh?
Yeah, the bloater.
The bloater, and then I think some are evolving to be smart ones, eh?
Well, there was
Yeah.
that one in when they went into when they were still at Jackson. They went down and they normally they just start charging for them, but there was that one with Ellie where she was just holding her ground. She used a bit of brains and a bit of techniques that the other ones haven't shown. So I think you're right. There's an evolution there.
It was funny, they're trying to pull that off in The Walking Dead. The zombies were getting clever. I was like, what? Fuck. They need to start running before they start getting clever.
You got any favorite scenes, Stace?
I think
Other
you
than
guys
the
said
ones
on
we
the
talked
main
about?
one. Yeah, you guys said on the main ones. I'm with you. I thought that take on me scene was a bit corny, but towards the end, you're right. It starts to make sense. So, you know, you can see Dina falling in love in that one moment, and that sort of, you know, makes sense where they get it later on in the series, the episode where they're all in together. So, you know, even the scenes you think are pointless actually do have a point. So, but
Could
yeah, there was like 2 or 3 scenes, which I think we touched them on.
Could you imagine those scenes being like without each other? Like if they played the serenade scene without the love scene, or the love scene without the serenade scene, it'll be fucking weird.
Yeah.
I
Well, no,
was
thinking
waiting for
about it-
one of those zombies to come out and eat her while she's singing or something like that. You don't sing in the bloody zombie apocalypse, mate.
Yeah,
How about
especially
the-
when they're making it out and then the zombie comes along. Fuck.
How about the straight up reaction? Like I'm gonna be the dad.
I was laughing at that. I was going, why would she say that? So saying, I'm gonna be the second one.
And Jesse, the Asian dude, that guy. See, that guy's the man, eh? Like he didn't even care, eh? Like you know when he caught them having a pash at the dance, and Jesse's the man, eh? He just stood back like, oh yeah, moving on. Because man, I was thinking, man, that guy's got a lot to think about. He's on the council now. He's got all the stuff. He doesn't have to worry about Diana anymore.
Yeah,
But then-
he'd probably get more chicken.
Yeah, so I don't know what's foreshadowing, but when they arrived in Seattle on the horse, they were going by the LGBT section of Seattle. I think it's called Capitol Hill.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and there's all the posters of the rainbow and all that kind of stuff, and they didn't know what it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but
The other scene that surprised me too was when Ellie took those was it the wolf security and how she just stabbed him in the neck.
yeah.
That was like, whoa, shit. So there might be something there. She's not afraid to kill. Neither is Dana. I wonder if that's going to continue or get worse.
And that comes back to that song, that singing song, because now like Dina's mad in love with her. She's just gonna kill someone and not even think twice for it. So that adds another layer to that other scene. Otherwise, it's sort of like
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Some great acting. She's a good actress. Eh?
Yeah, she's a good supporting actress, man. She's the man.
Like even when she trained her gun on Ellie, you see the look on her face, man. She was like devastated. Eh?
Yeah.
Like, got to kill the girl I love and all that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah.
damn.
She didn't have to say anything.
Well, you think about, remember they tried to get a posse together. They went through the proper channels, went to the town hall and had that meeting. So you think if they had a posse of people there, that Chinese guy, if he comes, he's a follow the rules guy. You're bitten. I don't want to hear any story. I don't want to hear you're immune and all that. He just shoots you straight away. He doesn't even think twice.
You're right.
Yeah, that would
Dana would have probably shot him too if she had a choice. She'll probably choose choose Ellie over thing.
I think it's the best decision for Jacksonville to let her go on her own. There's no way they're gonna take 16 people off their books, to help her find the people that killed Joey. Like,
especially
like getting to Seattle and seeing all the WRF stuff. I was like, oh hell no, I'm going back. There's a whole army here. I ain't gonna stick around, man.
But they got
a suicide mission, man.
They got machine guns, sniper guns, grenades, everything.
And that was the thing, with how Ellie and Dinah, they dealt with the whole thing. Because, man, I just watched that movie Warfare, and the American soldiers in the Iraq War. The amount of recon you gotta do, like there's heaps, man. Like they've got all the technology to do that. They got the notepads. They're writing down how many people there are. They got the walkie-talkies. They're actually studying what the terrain is, where their guns are, how many people there are, how many soldiers there are. They think, so they won't make a move until they got all the information.
Yeah,
these two just walking on their horse, just strolling in where the army is, and being they're lucky they came into Seattle and sort of probably in a side of Seattle where the WLF isn't at, eh?
Yeah. The other thing too is because it's only them two, so they'll be hard to spot. If it was like a group of them, then they'll get spotted straight away. So they have that, they have that on their side, and plus the zombies.
Yeah,
the fuck has zombies in a situation like that?
So, yeah. Do you think what's gonna happen? Do you think? Oh, because there was that part at the end where they hear one of the people that was with Abby on the walkie-talkie. So that's why they're going to the place. Say that place where they're going to go to next episode. So
it must be one of those. How many of them were there? 4 or 5.
Yeah,
guys that were with Abby. So it must be one of the girls.
Yeah,
I think with Dinah being pregnant, that's another like stake in the stakes are higher now, eh? So,
yeah, well, Ellie was suggesting that she should, like, like go back, or she'll do it herself because she's pregnant. But it looks like she's going the long haul. I don't know how that's going to play out either. I don't know if that's going to be good or bad, or really bad.
I got money on her dying, eh? I think she's going to die.
Too.
Who didn't?
Yeah. Do you think?
Wow.
Do you think she's going to die?
I think.
I wonder if she might, because she's, like you said, Eric, she was like really worried about it now. She knows she's pregnant. I wonder if she might just try and take off in the middle of the night and quickly finish the mission herself, Ellie, and leave her, just head back or whatever type thing,
True.
I think what's going to happen is maybe Dinah's going to get caught and she's going to be taken away, and Ellie has to try and save her, and I think she's going to die at the end of that. Those are my predictions. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, it might be up there. I think that's probably the only way they can make the show any better, to escalate that to that point where Ellie goes like Joel and just kills everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be that moment, when Ellie is so traumatized, she just turns into fucking Sarah Connor, Terminator 2 Sarah Connor, and just got to work on everybody, become this badass at the end.
Yeah.
Do you have the same thoughts, Stace?
Yeah, maybe we talked a bit about the evolution of the virus and how it's, the infected are changing. So I wonder if we might see more evolution. I think that there's like spores in the air in the game. So I wonder if they might go that route as well. Have some spores where people need to use face masks. And I wonder if one of the evolutions is maybe the infecting Ellie and making her immune might be part of that evolution. Instead of they get to a point of almost, hey, look, here's an opportunity for coexistence with the virus. I think the virus is really smart. Here's your one out. Either we kill you all off or you can coexist with the virus inside you like Ellie does. Here's an example of it working.
Yeah,
So I wonder
maybe
if that might come to fruition.
maybe she's not even immune. And it's just a different type of virus.
Yeah,
Fuck.
maybe they infected her on purpose. Maybe that baby, the pregnant one, maybe she has a baby who's immune. Got all the Ellie's six juices in her body. Give the baby some immunity.
Well,
But,
if
From her finger, from her finger.
if Dana gets bitten while she has the baby like the mother did with Ellie, it might be the same sort of thing, but man, to time that shit, fuck that. Take the risk like that.
Yeah, that's a bit far-fetched. But I think Ellie, because she doesn't fully know the truth about Joel killing all those fireflies.
Nah.
So I
what's
wonder
that gonna
once she
do?
goes to get to the daughter and she's going to try and kill her, the daughter's going to say, hey, you know why I killed me? He done this, and that might alter her perspective of Joel and more trauma and stuff.
Oh, who knows
her
about it?
evolution
Who
to
else knows
Sarah
about
Connor.
Abby and her crew, they kind of so
Oh,
they do know why
yeah.
Joel did it.
So
But
when
they-
she goes to kill
don't
him,
believe
you're
it.
like, yeah, you know what? We killed Joel because
Yeah,
he killed everyone else.
Ah.
but they don't know.
And then she's going to
But
be
they
like,
don't believe it, eh? They don't believe that the girls are immune. So they don't believe that, but they know why Joel did it. So I bet you when Ellie finds out, do you think she's gonna like fuck that guy? Son of a bitch.
That's probably why they made her a lesbian, so she doesn't have a baby. So there will be no chance of, more immune.
I don't know.
hmm.
Not sure. But yeah. It's
I thought,
nuts.
Eric, I thought you played the game. So do you know what's going to happen at the end or no?
No, not on part 2. I did play a bit on part 1.
Oh,
But
right, okay.
part 2, the only other also that's played is Jack.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, he played part 2.
He knows what's going to happen,
Yeah.
Oh.
He's like giggling about it. You're like, silly.
Share the six juices theory with him, see if it passes the test.
Fuck, dude. Warn us next time, man. Shit.
Yeah, man. No, man, it was a action-packed episode there. I'm glad
Yeah.
we're back into it. I was worried that we'll get another few episodes traveling to Seattle, but they took care of that last episode where they just went straight to it.
Yeah,
They just
that's
left
true. That's good.
the place and gone straight to Seattle.
Yeah, on the same episode too, wait.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we can get into the story. I'm intrigued about the Seraphites. I want to know what they're all about.
Yeah.
And yeah, how the zombies fit into everything. Like what I can see that's happened before in previous episodes is the zombies save the day. Like Ellie and Joel, like in season 1, when backs against the wall and they're almost gonna die, and then the horde of zombies show up and kill everything, and they
everybody.
escape. Like this happened at the train station this episode. Probably happen again. It's like a way out sort of thing in the story. So I hope that doesn't happen. But cool thing, like if you play the game, it's very gamey. Like the part when they're trying to escape the horde through that broken down train.
Yeah.
That's gamey. Like you can play the game and try and beat that scene.
I think there's a game that I've played that had a similar scene. I think it's Resident Evil. But it's a bit like that, and the zombies come and try and grab you. and it freaks me out every time because you don't expect that, and you try to go through the tunnel. Next minute, zombies are coming through. So that scene there kind of reminded me of that. I was like, "Fuck, that's pretty fucked up," especially with the red flares.
Yeah, that talks to how we're gonna watch the story unfold. We're gonna have a lot of scenes where we're running. Because if you think of a game, like what do you do in the game? Like a first-person shoot 'em up. Okay, you're gonna be shooting people, or you're gonna escape, or you're gonna run the gauntlet. Like you've seen a few scenes where they're running the gauntlet. There's that scene, episode 2, when Abby's trying to get through the zombies were leaning against the fence, the chain link fence, and she's trying to get through.
Yeah,
and that's a similar sort of thing with the broken down train. So I guess you might see more scenes like that if they're gonna stick to the game, like more of those gameplay sort of scenes, eh?
Yeah, because that scene with the fence is on the game Joe was saying. That was probably the part he got up to where the fence is leaning on Abby, and all the zombies are trying to get through the fence to get her. I was like, oh, true. I didn't know that.
It's also funny because, before the zombies show up in the train station, you can almost forget there were zombies in this program, eh? Like, we're going along, and you see the players turn up, like the WLF and the Seraphites and down in Ellie. You almost don't need the zombies anymore, eh? Like, it's about the revenge of Joel and how to survive the war that's going on in Seattle, and zombies are just like an extra thing that's in the background. So like a failsafe, if like things get out of hand, they'll show up, and another thing to avoid.
Yeah, that was freaky too, eh? Like how Dana was counting how many she could hear with her fingers, but then she realizes, like, oh shit, it's a fucking horde of them. There's more than 4.
Oh, what's that? What's she doing? I was wondering what she was doing.
She was like hearing them scream, and she was putting like, okay, I hear 1, and then she goes, oh, I hear 2, and then 3, and then they were both freaking out because they're like, fuck, there's more than 5. And then next minute, just see a whole bunch of them coming over the flipping. That was freaky.
Yeah. Yep. Excited for the next episode. See what's going on. We'll just wrap that up here, boys. So, we'll do some last words. Stace.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying the show. The zombie thing's sort of been done to death. So I was a bit unsure about the show when it first came out. But you think about when it first started. One thing when I watch some of these zombie shows, if the origin of how the zombies came to be is way too far-fetched, like, or some government conspiracy theory or the rest of it, I'm normally logging out of that sort of stuff if it doesn't seem to make any sense. But you think about how this one started up with that talk show in the opening scene in the very first episode, and they're talking about the cordyceps. So there's that documentary about the cordyceps, that David Attenborough documentary about those real cordyceps in South America and how they infect the ants. And that's actually really quite freaky. And you remember on that talk show, this talk show looked like it was filmed back in the 70s. And he goes, oh, it's not really possible unless, the Earth somehow gets warmer. And that sort of ties in with the global warming that we're going through now and all the rest of it. So, it was sort of semi-believable how it came to be. And that really made me log into the show and really get, sink into it a lot more, as opposed to just, we don't know how the zombies came to be and all the rest of it. So I just like the concept, the fungus concept, as about more than anything, and it's a really good show. So if you haven't watched it, give it a listen or watch.
Yeah, because I heard that fungus thing is they reckon it's realistic.
Yeah. Have you watched that? Have you watched that cordyceps documentary?
Yeah,
about the real cordyceps.
Yeah, but my brother has it, and he was telling me about it. I was like, fuck off.
Yeah, they infect ants and then they take over their body and they make them walk up to the top, and then all those like little freaking things come out of them. The spores go out into the air, and then it affects other ants. They take over the nervous system inside, and then they force the ants to walk up. It's like real ants zombies, but it can only survive in these really warm temperatures, which is why they're in the South American area. And that's when he said in the opening scene, the very first scene, if the Earth was to somehow get warmer, then it might theoretically be possible. And then you think about the global warming. Shit.
Fuck, this plants will have to be big to take over an organism like a human.
Yeah. But just how it's sort of based on some semi-facts to make it a bit more watchable.
Fuck, that's a pretty
Yeah,
scary
watch that
thought.
qualitative documentary. Oh, it's freaky as fuck, but it's really interesting, man.
Fuck that shit, man. I'm killing
Fuck
any
it.
ant I see. I'm killing any ants that I see, man. I'm
I
spraying
think that's
the
probably
ass.
the last word for this episode. Fuck.
Eric, last words?
Yeah, I can't wait for the next episode. We'll see what happens. Hopefully there's. I think the best episode at the moment for me is still episode 2. Is it episode 2 where Joel dies? So yeah, but this episode was really good as well. But we'll see. I don't know how many more episodes left now.
Oh no, I think there's 10.
Holy shit! That's quite a bit. So yeah,
Oh,
I guess
7.
there's still a lot more to explore. So yeah, hopefully all the best. The next episode to come. Can't wait.
Yeah, this episode was a good episode. It sort of made me think twice about, the loss of Joel. It's gonna make the show go downhill, but it hasn't. I think this episode made up for that. And yeah, man, just everything that's in it now, all the different players that are in the show now, and I'm intrigued about what happens to Ellie and her blood. I guess like what happens to her immunity if that's gonna do anything to help the problem they got in Earth.
Yeah.
The alternate universe. But yeah, man, it's a cool show. And yeah, I can't wait for the next one. Thanks, boys, for jumping on. It's been a pleasure having you guys on the show. Talk about The Last of Us. Do it again next week. All right. Have a good week. Bye.
Bye.